guys, I'm here with Dan Harris of Harris & Wick, the Harris portion of Harris & Wick. And I guess Wick is a little bit elusive, as you said, so he's not here with us today.
It's Sunday, and you know, we all want our days off, so I guess that would be his reason today, yeah.
And thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking
pleasure.
time out of your personal schedule to meet with us today.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask you a few questions about like the history of Harris & Wick.
Sure.
So how did you and Brian meet?
Well, I moved to Rupert in '76, and I was working whatever jobs I could get to go through college for goldsmithing, and I kept coming back to work in Rupert year after year. It was a 3-year college course for goldsmithing that I took in Toronto, and in my 3rd year I started working here, and I decided to do a show at the museum, and that's when I actually met Brian. It was just a small show of the jewelry I was making in my basement, you know, hobby stuff after college and stuff like that. And he came in and we found out that both of us made jewelry and so on. And Brian is in a wheelchair. He had a car accident when he was younger, and he retrained himself from fishing to be a goldsmith as well. And so we partnered up in early 80s. We sort of started talking about it. And in 1983, we opened the shop in October of 1983. So it'll be like 34 years this fall that we've been open.
Great, because I was trying to do the math in my head, but I'm terrible at math, so thank you for letting me know how many years you've been in business.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your locations, because I know that I remember as a child when you were located on 3rd Avenue.
Right.
But I believe you had a location prior to that?
Yeah, we were in the Highliner for, oh gosh, I think it was 17 or 18 years. We were where Hawk Air used to be. I'm not sure what's there now, but you know, at that time back in '83, the Highliner was kind of a going concern, and it was new and it was pretty fancy and upscale, and yeah, we had a good run there. And then I think, gosh, I'm going to blow the dates, but we were there for, let's say, 18 years, and then we moved to the location across from City Hall, and I think we were there for 6 or 7 years. I can't do the math now either, but so let's just call it 7 years. And then this location came open, and we loved it because of the light and the character of the building. And so we decided to move down here, and I think we've been here 9 years now, approximately. And yeah, we love it. Don't want to move again. Getting too old to do that kind of thing, so yeah.
And you're so right. It's such a beautiful location. I love the character, and I think it really adds to the ambiance of the shop.
Yeah, well, and it does. And what's really important to Brian and I is natural light. So to have natural light on both benches is huge. It just makes you feel good to be able to see outside, but to get sunlight on your work is huge. And the older you get, the worse your eyes are, and so it's important to have really nice light, and that's a big thing for us.
Nice. I wanted to ask too about your titles, your official titles, because you mentioned goldsmithing, but I know that both of you have different specialties.
Yeah, so Brian took a different kind of course. He went to school in Santa Monica, California at the Gemological Institute of America for jewelry repair and stone setting, to be able to set gemstones. And the course that I took was in Toronto at George Brown College, and it was a 3-year course that covered gemology, goldsmithing, enameling, design, sort of a real broad spectrum course that was designed by a woman who was from Germany, a very famous goldsmithing school there, and she recreated that in Toronto, and that's where I went. Brian's course was about, I think it was a year, and then he took upgrades from there, especially for the setting. And then the truth of it all is it doesn't matter how much you spend time in school, because where the rubber meets the road is here when you're actually working on people's jewelry and making things. And it's really important, because if you melt somebody's ring, you're in big trouble. So that's where you really start paying attention. I mean, school's great, but you know, the real job of this is working on jewelry day to day, and that's where you really hone your craft. So the difference in the two of us is very little at this point, because after 34 years, we both get it, all of it. And so it started where we were sort of different from each other, but now, you know, I mean, Brian can do everything I do, and I do what he does. There's subtle differences, but that's the basic of it, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the things that I have recently seen is that you have done a collaboration with a local photographer, Talon Gillis. And can you just talk a little bit about that and maybe a little bit about how important it is to collaborate with other small businesses in small communities?
Yeah, sure. I mean, and it's kind of funny how things develop, and much different than a city, of course, because we're such a small community where you know everybody. Talon's mother is a really good friend of mine, and we walk our dogs together all the time. And then I got more and more cognizant of his work, and I saw it, and it's amazing. And we've always collaborated with local artists, a lot of First Nations artists. We've worked with like some of the best in the north, and we're really proud of that. And we love their work. We love Talon's work, and why would you hire someone else when there's great people, you know, right in your doorstep, sort of thing. And yeah, love his work, love what he did for us. And I could go on for hours about the collaborations we've had over the last 34 years with local people. It's worked out really well. There's a lot of talented people in the north, and we work with people all over the north, not just Prince Rupert, but Haida Gwaii all the way to, you know, sort of Prince George, where we have people that we bring things in from. I just had an artist drop off some things yesterday who's a wood artist, and I've been after him for a couple of years to get some pieces in. And yeah, we'll look at them a little bit later. They're just amazing pieces of wood art. And so yeah, we've always tried to keep a lot of local artists, and even young starving artists like Sid Dickens, you know, like we've had his work for a long time. And I'm obviously joking because Sid's kind of, you know, famous.
Definitely not starving anymore.
No. And but anyway, yeah, so that's the thing. We do try to collaborate with more people from the north because that's where we live, and that's who we know, and that's who we want to work with, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I really love that. So you spoke a little bit about Sid Dickens. Can you talk a little bit about some other products and services that you offer that maybe people might not know about?
Well, yeah, I mean, primarily, obviously, we're goldsmiths, which is different than a jewelry store, and we can get into that maybe a bit later. But the thing is we just want to showcase artists in the north, if not the North BC, to show the world what comes from this part of the world. I'm originally from Toronto and Montreal, and the art back there is different, and the feel for everything is different. And because I've been here 40 years now, I really embrace what happens here. So we like glass art, and we like you know, paintings. We have paintings. Joan Mustat, we have some of her work, and there's a number of artists that we work with. It's whoever we see that we can bring in. Like Lisa Morrow and other people like that will put a few paintings, but this store has a lot less wall space than our old store. So we've pared down to where we just get the work that we think kind of accents what we do and also accents the feel of BC art, and that's what we're really focused on.
That's great. I love a lot of the stuff that you have. So when we come back from break, we're going to talk a little bit about the custom jewelry that you do for people.
Yeah.
I'm back with Dan Harris of Harris & Wick, and we're going to talk a little bit about custom jewelry. So maybe you could just tell me about a couple of custom jewelry pieces that were your favorite to make.
Ooh, yeah. You know, you get certain projects in and you think this will be a great one, and then it turns kind of normal, and you get ones in that you think, oh, no big deal, and then you design it and it becomes amazing. So that's a tough question to answer because things grow on you over time, and sometimes you have to make it first and see it. But there's a thing that I talk to customers about, clients all the time, is that when you're describing something to us, we can almost really quickly see it complete. And what I mean by that is that we'll know what you're talking about because we've been doing it for so long, and we've seen a lot. When you're describing something to me, I can see it finished in my head. Then it's my job to either write it or write it down on paper, make a sketch, or we have the girls do some Photoshop to an existing picture to try to get that picture into your head, to make sure that the one that's in my head is the same as the one that's in your head. These days, that's a whole lot easier because you have computers to help with that. And we never had that years ago. What we had was I would sketch everything with a pencil. And one of the reasons I got into being a goldsmith was I loved art, all the time when I was in school, but I knew I would never be able to make money at it because I wasn't great at it. I could sketch a little bit, and I liked it, but that didn't mean I could make a living. So what happened back in the day was we would sketch this and try and talk a lot about what we're going to do, and there was more faith from the customer to us to turn out what you want. And it 99.9% of the time it worked out perfectly. Today we can do a lot of different things because we can CAD a sketch, which means we can computer generate what it's going to look like for you, so that you'll see the finished product in a computer generated picture. So things have changed obviously over all the years with the technology, and that kind of maybe would explain why I say that before we kind of had to build it, and then I would say, oh, that's my favorite piece. But now I'll look at the CAD and I'll think, it's nice, but when I get it, I'm going to shave a few places here and there, and that'll be nice. Favorite pieces, gosh, I can't say. I've made some nice pieces for my wife that I really like, and I've made some pieces for clients, and Brian has that are really awesome. Brian does maku megane quite a bit, which is a Japanese a layering technique of different metals, and the metal in a ring ends up looking like wood. It's very labor intensive. It's really nice. I do it as well. Brian does more of it than I do. But that's really fun stuff to make. And then just the design, when you see it on the person and how they light up wearing it, and that's what makes it your favorite. Or if you see somebody 20 years after you made them a ring and they remember you, and I don't necessarily remember them, but then I see the ring and then I remember it. And that's really fun too. I like that. And you think I did it 25 years ago, so that's odd and kind of fun.
That's got to be a really special feeling.
Yeah.
So some of your favorite pieces, what about some of your, the most unique or the strangest or weirdest requests you've ever gotten for custom jewelry?
Yeah.
And just remember to keep it clean, right?
Yeah. She's saying that because she knows some weird ones. I told her off camera. So anyway, there's been obviously some really unique ones we've done. Like people come up with ideas that are out there and they're not really going to get much use out of, but that's what they want to wear. There used to be this thing where people would have bracelets with chains onto the ring and then a link each one, or wrapper ones, or we've done big medallions that are almost wrapper ones. We had one guy came in and he had a logo of his business made like this big on a huge $25,000 chain, and it was like something MC Hammer would wear, sort of thing. It was really cool. It was fun. I wouldn't wear it. It isn't something I'd put on my website maybe, but it was really fun to make. It was a huge amount of gold, sort of thing. But we get asked for really strange things. Like, I think one of the things that makes me laugh that Brian and I made years ago, again, that was back in the Highliner, fisheries and oceans came to us, and they were doing something with small smolt, is that what we call it, the little fish? When they have the little fish, and then they put them into they release them to the wild, but they needed to mark the fish for future reference. And I don't know anything about that. I mean, do you? Like, who knows that? So what they wanted us to make was branding iron for fish. And so the guy came to us with the dimensions, and they wanted, I think it was a T and an L. And they had to be this long with a handle, and they would put these little branding irons into liquid nitrogen, and then they would brand the smolt with these things.
Oh my goodness.
So that when the fish came back, or they caught them if they saw this on, and I guess it was before tags or whatever, but when I went to school for goldsmithing, I didn't think I'd be making branding irons for fish, really. It's just,
only on the coast.
Yeah, only in Rupert, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to talk about too was just the repurposing of jewelry, and a lot of people probably come to you with jewelry that has special meaning to them, an heirloom, but might not be stylish, or might be kind of out of date, or not, they don't like it, but they want to do something special with it. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, I could talk all day about it, but yeah, the thing is that years ago, when gold was $250, $300 an ounce, that wasn't such a big thing. But what's developed since then, obviously the price now is about getting close to $1,600 Canadian an ounce for gold. So repurposing gold has taken on a whole new meaning. But back then it was all about sentimental. And Brian and I did it because we weren't buying jewelry from big manufacturers. We were making it ourselves. So we offered that service, and we learned how to do it over the last 30 plus years and do a good job of it. A lot of stores never offered it before because it wasn't worth it for them, because they'd have to hire someone like us to do all the work and then sell it to you, and it got as expensive as buying jewelry out of the showcase. So, but the sentimental part is huge, and it's a big thing that we do now. Like, a lot of baby boomers have inherited their parents' jewelry once their parents pass, and they don't know what to do with it, yet they've got a bunch of it sitting in the drawer. And so everybody would like something made out of their mom's jewelry or their dad's jewelry maybe, but they don't like the style it's in, like you said. So we explain to them how we melt it down and repurpose it so they can wear it. And one story is that I like to tell people is about a really good friend of ours whose mom and aunt both died and passed away like within about a year of each other, and she had a lot of gold to use. So, and she's not a big jewelry wearer, but she's an executive and she wanted something nice. So we made her a set of 3 bracelets that she really loves. And it's her aunt and her mom's gold. Now, she had so much gold that she paid for the whole project with the extra gold that she didn't need, and had the 3 bracelets made, which are, you know, expensive bracelets. She wouldn't have normally paid that much just to have those bracelets, but to have them made, the 3, she loves the 3 bracelets, and every time she looks at them, she says she remembers her mom and her aunt, and that's really nice, you know. There's hundreds of stories like that we have about people that recently we just did some pieces for a lady whose dad was a gold panner. That was his hobby, and yeah, so we took that gold and repurposed it to make some pendants for her in honor of her dad, and her 2 sisters are wearing those pendants now, which is really nice. And so there's a lot to do with all of that, and it's just silly to leave it sitting in the drawer when you could be enjoying it and you know, have something that you like. And it also means something because it was passed down in the family, and then when you're ready to turn it over, it can be done again, because through history no one has ever thrown out gold. It always gets repurposed. It's sort of the ultimate recycling, right? Mm-hmm. And it's also good for the planet. I mean, you don't have to mine gold. If everybody's got some sitting in the drawer, you might as well use it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was sort of the whole idea behind it when we got into it.
Yeah, I love that for so many reasons. And can you just talk a little bit about like how, you know, special it is when you make a custom piece for someone that's one of a kind, and you see just how happy they are with it? Yeah,
you know, it's really nice. Like, jewelry is a funny thing because it's a product that absolutely no one needs. It's something that people want, and they normally are in love when they're buying it. So that's a really nice sentiment, right? Like, that people are buying this for that kind of reason, right? We buy cars because we have to get to work in them, or you know, farmers buy tractors to work, you know. I mean, this is certainly something from here. It's not something that you really need. So when you make a design that people like and they're happy with it, you know, it's a real joy for them and for you, and to work in that environment is one of the nice parts of this business, right? Yeah.
That kind of segues nicely into our next segment, which is going to be all about engagement rings. So ladies, stay tuned. We're going to talk all about that when we come back. Hi guys, I'm back with Dan at Harrison Wick, and we're going to just talk a little bit about engagement rings, my favorite thing to talk about. And I'm sure a lot of ladies love talking about it too. So I just wanted to ask, because I know that you are probably a human vault at this point, and just like ballpark, how many secrets have you had to keep regarding proposals?
All of them. Every single one of them. And it's a big thing in the store. Whenever someone starts to work with us, we sit down and have a talk with them about, and you know, what goes on in the store stays in the sort of thing, and it's super important. So you're sworn to secrecy when you come in here, and really for Brian and I, and you know, our sales people, it's come to a point where I don't even think about it when I walk out the door anymore. And you know, someone will get engaged. This is such a small town, and my wife will say, "Oh, so and so got engaged. Did you make the ring?" And I'll say, "Yeah." And she'll say, "You didn't tell me." And I'll go, "Yeah." I just don't even think about it anymore. But at the beginning, it was hard. You know, you're sitting around with friends and you're talking. You say, "Oh, never mind." So yeah, it's a thing. And the answer is every single one of them. We can't say a word about any of it. not to our spouses or anyone else. So.
That's awesome, and I think that's going to put a lot of people at ease when they're kind of like thinking about coming in and talking to you about designing that special ring for someone.
Yeah, we've met people. We meet people here at nighttime. We have people. Had one situation where one of the fellows fiancés or fiancé to be worked across the street, and he would come from through the tunnels and in the back door and phone me and tell me when he's coming so we could sneak him in. So there's 100 stories like that, but I won't take you through all of those. There's just too many, right? And yeah, a lot of things nowadays are done on our phones, right? And on the computer. And then I'll meet someone here when it's dark in the winter at like 8 o'clock, right? So, there's a lot of clandestine stuff that goes on in a small town for that. Yeah.
It sounds very like Russian spy.
No, it's just Prince Rupert getting rings made without getting found out and getting my butt kicked by somebody who shouldn't have known first, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That would be just
it would be bad.
Terrible.
So,
yeah. So what I want to know too is just kind of like what is the, can you just like describe the collaboration process a little bit?
Yeah, and that too has changed over the years. We used to, if a young lady was, her fiance is going to come in or her boyfriend, talk about that, we would say, go get Leah's best friend and bring her in. So we'll talk to her to try to find out your taste. These days there's Pinterest and there's Facebook and there's all of that. And our sales staff, Kate now and Shauna Chandler, like they're great at creeping people. Now Barb's working with us, Barb Taylor, and so we all teach each other how to creep people and how to look at your taste. Now we're not looking at dirt on the person, we're looking at what did they love, what did they show a lot. So Pinterest is huge because we even tell clients, go on Pinterest and show us. Once I get a sense of what the client likes, I can walk you towards where you want to get to, and then we collaborate to get to that final. So that's how it really all works, yeah.
Yeah, and like for me, I just think, and for a lot of women out there, I think like having a custom-made engagement ring is so much more special than having someone just walk into a store and kind of like pick something out that they think that, their prospective bride is gonna love.
Yeah, it's a tough thing, and it's a tough thing for guys because they want to hit a home run. Like this is their engagement ring, and they really don't want to spend a lot of money on something and have her go, not really. So we do two things. We tell the guys if that's what they do, they can return it and we'll start afresh. But if they have something custom made, then that's a different conversation because then we have to make sure that if they don't like it, can we put it back in the showcase and sell it? And there's situations where if you, in a small town where if you built it for someone and it wasn't right, you may have to rebuild it because you don't want someone else getting, that's the one that Leah had made that she didn't like. Because, so that's a small thing. You gotta watch all of that stuff, right? So, that's what I can tell you about that. It's just, we're so used to doing it, we've done it so often that we know where to steer the client and how to get them there, so, yeah.
That's awesome. So we have a special treat. Dan has agreed to let me start the process of making my very own engagement ring. So we're gonna get started on that.
So this is kind of like Alcan pouring stuff too, okay?
Oh my God.
So that didn't work. And that's okay.